Here's 5 things every new gun owner should know. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. Today, I want to talk about 5 things that every new gun owner should know. You just bought a weapon. What do you do now? Well, here is the first 5 things that you need to know. Number 1 is your responsibility as a gun owner. It's cool to collect guns. I think they're a great investment. I think they're great to hand down to future generations. So many cool things about buying guns, but you need to know why you purchased the gun and the responsibility that you carry by purchasing a gun. To buy a gun and then not become an expert in its safe use is not only lazy, it's dangerous to society. So please know your weapon, become familiar with your weapon, and be a responsible gun owner. Number 2 is the universal gun safety rules. There's 4 of them. For the most part, nobody debates these 4. Number 1 is to treat every weapon as if it's loaded. So if I walk up and I see a gun sitting on the countertop, I'm not just going to pick the gun up and start waving it around and playing with the trigger and testing the slide. I'm going to treat that weapon as if it's loaded. And I would go through proper unloading procedures before I decided to start playing with that gun. And I would make sure that I didn't play with a gun that I didn't know anything about. Number 2 is to never point a gun at something you're not willing to destroy. They call this lasering. If I cross the front of my muzzle over something that I did not make the intentional decision that I'm going to destroy that object, that is a big no-no. That is the number 2 universal gun safety rule. Number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until you have made the conscious decision to shoot. That means completely off the trigger, not kind of lazily sitting on the trigger guard, definitely not inside the trigger guard. Malfunctions, accidents can happen. I have seen negligent discharges. Keep your finger away from the trigger at all times. Number 4 is know your target and what's around it. A lot of times people say, know your target and what's beyond it. That's great as well. Know your target and what's around it. I need to know what's in front of my target because in a self-defense scenario, if I were to draw my weapon and there's people in front of me and I'm trying to address a threat, a person could stand up in my line of sight. And that's a dangerous situation. I need to know if I needed to move laterally left or right, what's around me and what's around that target that I could potentially have to engage. So know your target and what's around it. The third thing every gun owner should know is where to get training. Look in your local area and find formal training with a firearms instructor. Make sure that they are a reputable firearms instructor and go and get that training. The truth is, when everybody starts shooting, they usually suck. Nobody just picks it up and is great at it right off the bat. There is a learning curve. Things that a firearms instructor can teach you will help advance that learning curve. Principles like grip, stance, sight picture. Additionally, they can teach you a lot of legal implications to carrying a firearm. So I'm a big proponent for getting people to go to training, to seek training so that they can become more efficient with their weapon. The 4th thing every gun owner should know is the condition of your weapon. You should always know if your weapon is loaded, if it's unloaded, if it has a safety, is the safety on, is the safety off? If it doesn't have a safety, what conditions will need to be met in order for this weapon to fire. You should know how to safely clear and load your weapon, which again is why formal training is important. You must always know the condition of your weapon. All right, guys, the 5th thing you need to know as a new gun owner is how to store your weapon. Thinking about things like holsters, how you're going to store it in a holster, inside the waistband, outside the waistband. What capacity are you going to use this weapon in? Is it a self-defense weapon? Is it something that you're going to try to do shooting competitions with? All that's going to change what type of holster you use. Also think about how to safely store it at home. So think about safes, what kind of safes you would use. I have a nightstand safe. It's just a digital code that keeps it safe. I have small fingers at home, so you have to learn to balance accessibility with safety. Some people will store the weapon in a place without a safe. You just need to make sure that if you're going to do that, that it is high enough and far enough out of reach for any small fingers or anybody invite somebody over to your home isn't just going to see your weapon sitting out. So make sure you think about how to store your weapon. Big gun safes are cool as well. If you're going to be a person that collects a bunch of guns, get a big gun safe. You can store your guns in there. But also for the weapons that you're going to deploy in a self-defense situation, think about the best way to store them. For me, something like a safe on my nightstand works perfectly for the weapon that I would utilize to protect my family when I hear a bump in the night. Outside of that, just make sure you consider in what ways you're going to carry your weapons so that you can store them properly. At the end of the day, guys, the biggest takeaway here is don't just buy a gun and then not train with it. Don't buy a gun and not think about how to be safe with it. You're responsible as a gun owner to be safe with that weapon. They are a powerful tool and they can be utilized for good. They can also be utilized for bad. So make sure you're somebody that stands on the good side of owning a weapon. Thanks for watching. If you guys like this content, please subscribe, comment below any other content you would like us to cover. I'm Sean Kennard. Remember, violence is a virtue.